Hello ladies and gentlemen, and you're very welcome back. Today we're going to be going over some of my duels very recently. This is, I think, the third time I've tried to put this together. Out goes that jump attack, very nice. We're starting it off as we mean to continue. I've been trying to make this video for a little while. We've had some trouble with recordings, we've had some issues, and here we can see the build that we are of course using. 29 strength, 55 dex, 60 vig obviously, and the 25 endurance there. The kind of the more optimal side of Trina's. A special thank you to, of course, Siri for helping me put that together. Trina's are, I think, an overall discussion about balance is kind of in order for this one, because everything I said in the Carrions video kind of carries over to this, and this is why I wanted to do these in kind of more or less sequence. The idea is that, how do I put this? Of their class, St. Trina's aren't very good. And that might seem surprising to you, seeing as it has access to a very strong tool, which is, of course, sleep, which is a means of character stun for quite a while. But let's kind of figure out what makes a good setup here. And you can see there, like, once I get that sleep down, it's devastating. You can just mash into people, but it requires getting to that point. So let's talk a little bit about what makes a setup good. There's three areas it has to excel in. It has to have an excellent moveset, which of course the power stance straightswords do have. They have incredible crouch R1s. They have really good jump L1s. The standing L1s are exquisite. They're really, really solid. However, it's missing another part in it, which is of course range. They are toothpicks, tiny little things. And obviously here, having the ability to whiff punish something is really important. Straightswords thrive off of that. And losing out on that ability with as much ease as something like Carrions, Nobles, or indeed Codeds have, really puts it at a strong disadvantage. I can see it here. I'm able to pressure. I'm just going to keep pressuring here. And then, again, this is nothing you didn't see in the Carrions video. They're fundamentally the same thing. The only difference now is my damage is lower, but my potential damage, if I do manage to get the sleep proc, goes up considerably. And when I say that they're not high enough damage, I'm losing about maybe 150 AR on each, thereabouts, compared to an optimized Carrions and compared to optimized Codeds. It's ridiculous. Just like Carrions, though, I don't have access to an Ash of War, outside of the improved sleep buff, which is, you know, it's on a timer. It's not. It does improve my ability to actually sleep people. We see the jump L1 there, which has been nerfed. This recent recording, this is on current patch. Ooh, managed to get clipped there by the Flaming Strike. He actually played that really nicely. Goes to the jump L1, forcing him off there, trying to go for the poke, not quite able to land. But you see here, I'm struggling to try and find an opportunity to get in, deliver that whiff punish. I managed to get the sleep proc out of all of those attempts there, 1200 damage. If this was Carrions, this could be very much over already, even more so than on this current setup. And you'll notice that I'm actually struggling an awful lot compared to that Carrions video. Not only because maybe I haven't played as much Elden Ring as I was at that point, but also because the advantage, and you see there, obviously high lat, sleep becomes really strong. Because, you know, it procs on ghost hits, and it doesn't have the same properties as blood, where no effect is really done by the temporary stun, or frost, same thing. This has its full effect go through, even through it, much similar to poison and rot, which of course elevates it a considerable amount. So when we talk about the trade-off here, and we'll probably see it later on in this vid, is that I have to continuously keep pressure. I can't whiff punish all that well. I go for the jump there, not quite able to make it, force back. See a little bit of spacing come out here. I do manage to just clip him with one of the swords. Jump attack comes through. The RNG simulator comes through. And there we have it. JL1 into the sleep proc, into another L1 that then puts him away. But that range, again, if this was Carrions, that would have been over even sooner. I would have minced him, been able to whiff punish much more effectively. So while it is still a straight sword, it is still one of the weaker ones. Do I think there's something like short swords, which is even shorter, probably takes the cake for worst in class? Possibly. However, it's still not all that good, especially on lower latencies where you can't rely on those ghost hits. Status, of course, on Lat does get inordinately buffed. Disproportionately buffed, even, I'd say. Let me see here, go for that trade. I'm forced back. See, I'm not quite able to get that whiff punish. If this was the short swords, I don't think I would have gotten anything out of that. See here, I managed to over-aggress because I have to, on account of the fact that these things are so short, and I lay up pressure because I think he's going to pressure me, and instead he does the turnaround, runs away, manages to get that. I get whiff, I get kind of caught out of shape there. Tried to go for a roll, but the pivot animation caught me off. We see this, I unlock, come back in, try and set up for these opportunities to come in. I go in for pressure and then just immediately eat it. I would have been able to outspace that on carrions. Again, I would have been able to outspace that on nobles, and I would have been able to outspace that in most other straight swords paired, weirdly enough. Was that my fault? Was that still a skill issue? Yes. The answer is, of course, yes. I still made a blunder there. I overextended. Should have expected counter pressure, but I expected him to respect me. This is going to be a trend in an awful lot of the opportunities where I die, and now we have status versus status. Sleep is better than poison, I would say, just simply for the fact that the stun. We see me throw out a run R1 there. They have been buffed in the recent patch, which is nice. Too bad that the poise is still absolutely abysmal, and you are still better off going for those standing and jumping L1s. Even though the jumping L1s have been slightly nerfed from what people are saying, about 10%. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Still, it's a good high damage, low recovery option. Not really changed. There's not really much to say here about how straight swords have changed. They play the exact same way in this current patch. Not much in the difference. But with Trina's, and this is the problem, you're caught in a permanent state of having to keep aggressing on people. You have to stand closer, and your damage options, while still scary, you can still 4 or 5 shot people. Usually, against people who are unprepared, the fight is going to be over long before the long before the sleep proc actually goes through, which is hilarious. Even if you buff both of the Trinas, if they are prepared in any way, shape, or form, they have the talismans on, they have the Envoy's crown, they have the... I can't remember if there's any other items that actually boost it. And you see here, obviously this guy didn't have any of those things. So it seems on paper that sleep is incredibly powerful. Because again, I get that stun, get that, and now he's out. Boom. Comes back in, go for that crouch, cheeky crouch R1. This is a funny one. I have no idea how this happened, and I managed to land the last step. Sometimes things happen, and we have this slight delay into the death there. Not entirely sure what happened all in all. But again, it's a straight sword. They jump L1s, you have the opportunity to trade. If they stay in and trade, in fact, is actually the optimal strategy. But against someone competent, they're not going to stay in and trade. They're going to try and play that spacing game, leverage their better range, possibly hyper armor, in order to just mince you. That's one of the things that I had an awful lot of trouble with in this short little session is hyper armor. How do I even approach them, especially if they already outrange me? I can go for a whiff or try to whiff punish. Their recovery is going to be super low. They can get away with it. I have to preempt it. And if I count wrong and they have a good mix game, I'm going to be in trouble. See it here, this guy is just going for these R1s. He's trying out the new parts of the moveset, and unfortunately the L1 is still king, the JL1 is still king, and we managed to just about get that sleep proc there and put him away. Funnily enough, I think the full jump L1 actually landed there, and that fight would have been already over. He got simultaneously lucky and unlucky that he got clipped with that one sword and then gets put away. Sorry, excuse me. A bit of a cold coming on, I think. Oh dear. So is there anything else then in the terms of like range, moveset, and of course damage? These are all properties I have. I traded this thing that I really should not have. I didn't even see the Giant's Hunt. He got stuck on my model. I couldn't actually see the animation that was happening. That was a little bit embarrassing. JL1 and I end up trading into it. Ouch. A bad time to be me, I think, in this case. But yeah, it's like if the weapon hits one of those really well, it has a really good moveset. The damage is still okay, but comparison to the other ones, it's still outclassed. And that's the important thing. When people say, when the more experienced players, comp players in tournaments, for instance, I think there's only one occasion where Trina's was used, and that was because Hylat was... No, I take that back. Space Ranger used it, who was quite recently on the channel. with his duel with Ruth. He used it in a high lap match against Frosty, given that it was allowed under the rule set. To great success, having the opportunity on those very high lap matches. US Central versus Eastern Europe. That's going to be 200, 300 ping. That's a big number. Nasty, nasty, nasty. And another occasion that I believe was Siri versus, was it Dark Soap? Could be mistaken on that one in the chain tourney. That was another instance where Trina's was used. And again, the common denominator in that situation was, of course, the high latency. So obviously, high lat, Trina's is a fantastic option. You can leverage those ghost hits just with how the netcode works. Really useful there, but in kind of low lat matches in a Ceteris Paribus, all else being equal, and we go through there. We actually managed to sleep them through there because the full combo doesn't do enough poise damage, and a little bit of a misfire there on that one. So Trina's has been used in comp, not often in its very select circumstances when it's both allowed in the rule set, and of course the latency is perfect for it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all you have for me now. Bit more of an interesting video, more so about the overrated nature of Trina's rather than anything else, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Please subscribe if you like it, and hope to see you again. Take care.